So my favorite moment that's ever happened in Dark Souls is, it was on New Game Plus, and I was going to fight the gargoyles, and I saw a summon sign down. And I summoned this guy, and you know, he did the bow, which is pretty typical, and he had a full set of armor on. He had HAVOC's armor on, and he took off all of his armor, and he was completely naked. And I was like, okay, why is he doing this? And I was like, oh, whatever, like, do you want to fight the boss now? I mean, I wasn't telling him this, but I wasn't sure what to do. I was, whatever. And then he put all of his armor back on, and then he took it off again. And then he did this one more time, and I realized that he wanted me to take my armor off. And it was just this
How did you feel?
Really weird, but it was kind of hilarious because this guy was trying to tell me this strange thing by just doing this action repeatedly. And so we went in there, and somehow we killed it. We killed the gargoyles without any armor, just our weapons and shield. And we just did Praise the Sun, and then he left. And it was this really like bizarre special moment, and
I need to look up Praise the Sun on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, well, it just made me realize, it kind of made me think about games differently a little bit. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but it was like, I appreciate that I had this unique experience that probably not very many people have had, or maybe no one else has had. Have you guys had any moments like that in games where you just had this really weird, special thing happen to you that you can't replicate?
It's not really special to me, but I guess anyone that's played it, if you played Journey with someone else,
yeah,
the feeling of coming to conclusion and going through that with someone is great.
It is. Like, they're just this anonymous person, you know, and then that scene where you're in the snow and like you can lose them. Okay, let me ask you this. When you finished Journey, did you send a friend request to the last person you were with?
No, but I also am really socially inept and actually don't really like playing online with people, especially strangers, except that was an experience that actually made me feel positive doing that. Did you send a friend request to the guy that you were taking off your clothes with?
I did. I've never messaged him or played anything else with him ever again, but he's on my friends list. His name is, well, no, I guess I shouldn't say his name.
No, it's interesting what you both bring up, you know, the communication's limited. And, you know, Miyazaki said for Demon Souls, Dark Souls is like, you know, his thing was there was these people stuck on a snowy hill, and they had to push each other's cars up, but you wouldn't really get out of the car. So the people would help you up, but you couldn't really talk to them or anything like that by like gently pushing on your bumper. And it kind of evokes a weird sort of like, you know, role playing in a more traditional sense without being like completely dorky about it, I guess. Even though there's definitely some dorky stuff going on.
I played the Star Wars Galaxies beta, and it was before anyone could have mounts or anything. So I just met up with this random guy, which I don't really do that much because I'm antisocial in games kind of too. I like playing with friends, but for some reason I just partied up with this guy, and we were on Tatooine, and we just kept going out and out and out, and the world was huge at that time, and there were no mounts. So we were just wandering Tatooine for what felt like hours, and we got out there, and we both just had this feeling of like, are the developers watching us right now? Like, should we even be out here right now? So it was just this weird, like, we thought Big Brother was watching or something.
And you just felt completely lost.
Yeah. I think we were looking for Jabba's palace. Like, no one had found it yet.
Oh, cool.
So.
Wow, that's a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, it's beta. So.
You were a wee Mike at that point, huh?
Yeah.
So I had a friend, not me, a friend who was playing Candy Crush.
Sure, friend.
And the funniest thing, that he plays the game all the time, but refuses to put any money into it. The thing is that for him, the point of the game is to not pay for it. Now, mind you, the game's set up so that if you're not paying for it at a certain level, you know, if you're not doing the microtransactions, then it's going to take you forever, and it's annoying and it's frustrating.
You have to pester your friends in order for them to be like, you know, to get through and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, and he does that.
Oh God.
Or he could pay $1, right? But he refuses to pay the $1. Even though it frustrates him and bugs the hell out of him,
right.
He also refuses to stop playing the game. But he will not pay the $1. For him, the game is to play the game without paying for it.
So he's created a game in itself
it's
within
a
the
metagame.
game.
It's a metagame.
Right.
It's a metagame of the metagame of microtransactions.
That in principle the principle is that he doesn't want to pay for it.
Well, is it really a principle? I've heard people talk about microtransactions as like a moral thing. I refuse to give these people money, to pay money for things in the game.
So the question becomes, who's that going to hurt?
You mean from a game design perspective, from other players?
Well, from other players. Like it's a terrible game design perspective. Like, why would you make a game that's arguably like terrible to play?
Well, you don't set out trying to make a bad game.
But it's like
here's the thing, there's a balance there.
No.
The great part about free to play,
Right.
is that it's free.
Right.
And so you get to play games that you would never ordinarily play. I mean, if it was a $60 game, you'd be like, I don't think so. But if it's a free-to-play game, you're like, let me try it out.
Yeah, and if the game is bad, the game is bad. It is
Right.
not going to succeed, but you can have a very successful, fun-to-play, free-to-play game.
The kind that I really find interesting, though, the microtransactions that I find interesting, are the ones where you pay for currency. Because that really stretches it kind of both ways. In some games, currency isn't that important, so it doesn't really matter. In some games, currency is kind of the whole point of the game. In EVE Online has a weird system. I'm not sure it's technically a microtransaction, but you can buy game time, and then they actually sell it as a token, an in-game token. And you can buy and sell this game time token in the game for in-game currency. I was trying to do some mining. I really wanted a better mining ship. That was kind of my goal, right? The goal that I set for myself was a new mining ship. It was around 25 million ISK. Now, I could grind for maybe 2 or 3 days, or I could spend 20 bucks, buy the Plex, sell it, get 650 million ISK, and then I could just buy my mining ship and then whatever else I wanted. It turns out the mining ship cost, if you do the math, cost about $1. But the weird thing for me was that it wasn't about the dollar. It was about how it changed the game, because my goal was to get money. And then if I paid for the money, then I could get my ship, and that was fine. But then suddenly I'm out of goals. I've got another 600 million ISK. What am I going to do next? It kind of, in a way, changes the game.
But the question comes down to fairness. Do you feel like the money that you would spend to usurp the time or to get around it, do you feel like that was worth it? Like, would you rather keep that dollar and then grind through the game to get whatever you're looking for?
It's not even about the dollar anymore. It's not, because it's
about how it changed the game for
exactly.
you, and it fundamentally eliminated the goal that you were trying to achieve by circumventing it with slapping down the money to just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, what do I do now? I have all this money. Do I stop playing the game now that my goals, I have no more goals?
Yeah, and the thing about a game like this is you kind of have to set your own goals. And most of the time the goal is to save up enough money to buy something.
Right.
But if you've got an infinite amount of money, then suddenly your goals have to change.
But you don't have an infinite amount of money. You only have like so much money. And then like whatever you're looking at it, you bought a slightly larger mining vessel. Well, is there a slightly larger mining vessel than that mining vessel?
Yeah, there's always the next thing. But you take someone like Rohan here. He's got the big time GT money. He's got his 2 mansions and his fleet of Ferraris. He could spend $200-300 in the game, buy whatever he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. But
hold on. I think that brings us to probably the controversial side of this, right? And this is where I have a big issue with microtransactions. When it's siloed off into something like EVE, where you make the choice, right? And there's no real competitiveness. It's like, okay, well, I'm faced with the dilemma. Do I invest the time to get this ship, or do I just pay the money to do it? When it comes down to like competitiveness,
right,
I think that there's a huge issue with that.
Well, I think it's not necessarily like everyone is scared of a pay to win sort of system. Like that's what comes up every so often, or every time when it's this microtransaction. Well, I don't want a pay to win system. I don't want a pay to win system. It's not the pay to win system that breaks the game. It's the system where they're going into it and they're manipulating the bits and pieces of the game itself and destroys the game that ruins it. The auction house, the Diablo's auction house. I mean, even though there was no PvP, the fact that they would go in and they would manipulate what's going to be a rare, what's going to be not a rare, what's, what are you going to get this time? Is this item higher, is selling higher? Well, we're going to cut that item in half. Well, that screws up everyone else's game. I'm just playing a single player game and I just want to go through there and I want my legendary armor because I've sunk X amount of time into it and I just want to enjoy the game. But because there's this other tacked on sort of, microtransactions that I'm not even a part of, that's messing with the game. That's messing with me and my enjoyment of the game. And so once you start doing that, that starts, that's the problem with microtransactions. That's the economy. That's the futzing around with the economy in order to get like a couple of extra dollars from a couple of extra people.
And I think that the evil games are eventually gonna find, water finds its own level, and eventually the evil games are gonna filter away, and then we're gonna end up with. You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I think there's too much money. I think it's up to us as media to educate people about, okay, this game, if this is a free-to-play game, what do you get at like $5? What do you get at $10? What do you get at $20? Like, what's really good about this? What's really bad about this? What do we like? What do we not like? I mean, I feel like we keep away from free-to-play games because they're sort of like free-to-play and they don't really have the same status, as it were, for like a larger title. For a game, you buy $60 and that's that. It's also really tough to follow these free-to-play games because they're always changing, they're constantly moving. Clash of Clans, when I first played it, which was about 3 years ago, is different than the Clash of Clans that you can pick up now. And so, like, you have to be on the ball. We have to be constantly reporting on these things. We have to go back and revisit these games, which I don't think, media necessarily does, because who wants to hear about an old game?
So what you're saying is I just really need to rethink my faith in humanity.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all screwed.
You got the Xbox One bundle for $365?
365? How'd you pull that off?
This is embarrassing.
You want to do it right here, or you want to go over by the Skyrim guy?
No, we can do it right here.
Is this a secret intervention? Is that what this is?
Wait, is this how we're doing this?
What we've learned is that Ben Moore cannot resist buying games and borrowing games. He brought back a stack of like 10 games the other day that he borrowed. And so I've been wanting this for a long time. We've gotten Ben to give a list of the games he's purchased in about the past month and the games that he's played in that same time period. See if they match up.
Two things. These are the games that I can remember. I'm pretty sure there are games that I bought that are not on here, which is even more frightening. And second, I am ashamed. So I bought The Witch and the Hundred Knight, Deception 4, Infamous Second Son, Final Fantasy X HD, Dark Souls 2 Collector's Edition. I do not approve of Collector's Editions. Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, Dark Souls 2 Collector's Edition Guide, Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, Titanfall Xbox One bundle, which is still in its box. Now the reason that's $365 is because I had a $135 Walmart gift card, so I cheated a little bit there. I feel like I have to say the price for this. $100 on Hearthstone booster packs.
And you played?
I've played, out of these games, Dark Souls 2, Ground Zeroes, which doesn't really count because my copy is still in its shrink wrap. However, I played it for review. Diablo 3 and Hearthstone. This might be the kicker to this list, is I'm currently paying subscriptions for both World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV.
And not playing.
And not playing them at all.
Right.
I'm sorry, don't live like this. Don't do it. This is a PSA.
I'm a little bummed that it's like a shaming of Ben, because it's like Ben loves games.
Yeah, it's a celebration.
Yeah.
Celebration of passion.
The thing is that I'm not necessarily ashamed of spending money on games, because I will play these someday, I swear to God.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I'm just ashamed that I just keep playing Hearthstone.
I told Ben I wasn't going to talk about this, so of course I'm going to talk about it.
Gotcha.
No, I've been playing Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc lately, and it's pretty excellent. If you don't know about it, it's on the Vita, and it's a Japanese visual interactive novel, I guess, and it's pseudo murder mystery. So far, there's not a lot going on, but my question I was going to pose to you guys is I'm enjoying it thus far, regardless of the fact that I still feel like I'm in tutorial phase where I'm not really doing much, but I'm wondering if maybe I won't end up doing that much. But I feel like these interactive novels are becoming more and more prominent in gaming. Do you guys have any that you would recommend? A game that you feel like it fits that genre and you recommend to someone?
I feel like this one is like the de facto answer, but both 999 and Virtue's Last Reward are really good, and I think the success of them is what brought Danganropa, or whatever it is over here.
Didn't they release a novel too as well recently?
Spike Chunsoft's?
No, like one actually based on 999.
Danganronpa? Oh.
Oh, a novel? Like an actual novel?
I think so. I saw a press release for something.
I don't know.
They
Or
do
maybe
like a
it's a virtual
graphic
thing.
novel or something?
I'm not sure.
I mean, there are a lot of games where your level of activity, anything from Telltale, obviously, you're going to feel like you're limited.
So are there choices in this game I can't pronounce?
Thus far, no.
So you're literally reading and there's text.
You're interacting with certain characters and certain objects, but thus far, there's really not that.
But I think, obviously there's things like Gone Home more recently, which captured a lot of people's hearts and imaginations. I think there's definitely space for this kind of new sort of storytelling. I think people still probably want to have some level of, I don't know if control's quite the word, but maybe like immersion that's different. Like what makes it a digital product versus a more traditional, like a comic book or something like that. I'm assuming there's music or some.
Yeah, the music's great.
Effects.
I'm waiting for more interaction, and I'm waiting for more freedom to act.
But even Phoenix Wright.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reading there.
Yeah, and press related.
Press related so fun.
Yeah. And sometimes these games they're just enjoyable. People like to rag on them sometimes, but I'm having a great time, and visually it's like stunning.
It puts me in like a weird state of mind when I play those games. It's like, I know that it's kind of like murderish. Make him suffer. So maybe that's not as lighthearted as some other ones, but
is that the game angle? Or are you still trying to figure out, even though it's not you're not doing it in the game, but you as Elise are like, who's done it?
No one's been killed yet in my game, and I asked Ben. I tried to get that from Ben, but no one's been killed yet in his game either.
I've only played for like an hour, so unfortunately I don't have that much experience with it. But what I liked about 999 is you learn the whole story is just made up of a bunch of different pieces, and there are like 6 different endings. And in order to completely understand the story, you have to go down all of these different paths. And I think that's something that you don't really get with a book is slowly trying to build this thing. And there were several points throughout the game where I was like, this person's got to be the killer. And then you get thrown for a loop for a couple of times. So I think it's just a fun ride.
Red herring.
Yeah.
30 Flights of Loving has almost no actual gameplay per se, but it is such a great little, especially if you're into like cinematography or like montage theory, it is such a great little 15-minute treat to kind of just go through and figure out and see what they're kind of bringing from. We always think there's a lot of cinema and game crossover, but here it's brought so much to it's weird how much they're overlapping. I thought that one was pretty interesting, even though it's not as a direct narrative as something you'd read or something like that.